retirees, inflation isn't just a headline. It's a direct threat to purchasing power over time. Let's break it down. Aaron Minney from Challenger is here. So Aaron, this is the thing, as we talk about inflation incessantly because it hurts so many people across demographics. What does it mean for retirees in particular?
So as we saw last week, the Reserve Bank highlighted that inflation is number one concern across the population. When we spoke to retirees earlier this year, 2 in 3 are worried about the cost of living. And one of the big reasons for that is they don't have any way of automatically adjusting for it. Like when you're working, most of the time you've got a wage or something that keeps up with it. But when you're in retirement, each time there's inflation, that price level just goes up and up again. So it's a bit harder to sort of adjust for. We always think about inflation going up and down, but inflation goes up.
It never comes down.
Prices go up,
yeah,
but they don't come down. And so when you're living off your savings as you do in retirement, that's a challenge that makes the whole concept of keeping your money lasting through retirement that step harder for retirees.
I would imagine that really dents confidence. I mean, that would be very worrying.
Yeah, and one of the things you see is the amount of worry that retirees have, is impacted by inflation. So go back a few years and inflation was low and people weren't too worried about it then. But then when we had that spike a couple of years ago and the inflation we've seen over the last 12 months, it's come back to the front of mind. And people are not only worried about sort of what they're doing, sort of paying their bills this week, but it's how their money's going to last sort of 5-10 years in the future as well. Because if they don't have something that's keeping up with that cost of living, that's a real confidence denting, and you see them sort of going back into their shells quite a bit there.
So is this sort of across the board it causes concern, or do those that have exposure to equities feel a little bit more buffeted in the case of rising inflation?
Well, I think this is a whole different sets of ways of dealing with inflation. Equities work really well when you're saving because you get a good real return, but in retirement what matters is the income. And this is where it's a bit of a false sense of confidence. Now, if you go back 10 years and look at someone who's living off dividends from their equities in Australia, dividends have gone up 18%. But if you look at what's happened to the cost of living over that time, it's gone up 35%. So that dividend stream you're getting, the dollars, haven't gone up as much. So this is where you need to sort of eat into a bit of the capital, and that's what raises some of the concerns.
Yeah, okay. So what are sort of some of the strategies that retirees can employ then?
Yeah. So one of the things which is available to everybody is the age pension. So it's got built-in inflation adjustment that works really well, but it's not very much. It's a safety net. So if you've got once you've got a few assets of your own and you've got your own income stream, you've got to do something else that's going to keep up with it there. So you need to draw down more over time, or you can have an inflation-linked income stream. We've seen a lot of innovations now, so the big super funds, some of the retail platforms with their lifetime income streams, and some of those have inflation protection in there, and we're seeing a lot of interest in that from retirees that are worried about the cost of living. And the good thing is, you don't need to put everything into it. It's a little bit of that will cover that baseline, and that's what people are after.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and dividends, because we do love our dividends here. I mean, can that form part of a strategy? What's the pros and cons?
Dividends are really good because you do get the growth of the company. So if you think about sort of the income you need in retirement, you need some of it that's going to be secure and some of it that's still going to grow, because retirement's going to be a long time for most people. So you don't want to be locked in, not doing very much. With an equity investment, with dividends, they will grow over time. And that's sort of going to be a base that helps in that sense there. But the challenge is whether the dividend keeps up with the inflation. And when inflation was sort of 2% or so, it was growth in dividends were keeping up with that. When there was this shock, the dividends haven't adjusted quickly enough. And so this is where having something that prepares you for the big shock for inflation can help out sort of getting that mix across a retirement portfolio.
So it's not too late, when you're in decumulation phase, to start rejigging your strategy to account for inflation.
That's right. It's never too late to adjust for anything, and it's getting that balance right. And one of the things we're seeing now with the funds is got access to sort of 3 different types of retirement options. One's your lump sum, so you can, as you've always been able to do, access to money as you need it. The other one's the flexible income stream, the account-based pension that people have been used to, keeps the money invested, keeps it there and available. But we're now seeing this increase in lifetime income streams. So this is part of the government's best practice principles. They've highlighted that. And this is money that will last for life. And we're seeing innovations in those that are linked to markets, so you can keep them invested in shares and keep that growing over time. Or you can have them that are more secure and guaranteed, either fixed or linked to CPI inflation, for example, so that that income there will always keep up with inflation.